So how many of us are currently thinking of what we're going to be having for lunch? I don't know about you guys, but I know I am. Especially being late to this class, I was like, oh, you know what, I'm going to have something on the way, I'm going to have something on the way at my house. Which brings us to the quote is, I've known what it is to be hungry, but I've always went right to a restaurant. But what about those who are less fortunate? Let's take the homeless, for example, who are struggling to figure out where their next meal is going to be coming from, or what they have to do to simply get enough food to provide for their family or themselves. And I know for a prime example, I have actually gone and helped out a food kitchen, those who donate to the homeless. And I know it was a humbling experience for me, just seeing them like with joy, because they are going to have something to keep themselves company and sleep through the night and get them to simply complete the simple tasks that we do on a normal basis. And for example, I'd like to talk about when I was also in Mexico. I was in Mexico, and you know, everybody's known for like the big fiestas, and everyone's gonna be like, oh yeah, we're gonna have a whole bunch of food and this and that. They invite the whole town, and even like the less fortunate come. And it was my uncle's like 50th anniversary wedding, and they were like, oh yeah, you know, do you want to help serve the food? And I'm like, I guess not really a choice. And you know, I was handing out food to the people, and obviously everyone's like dressed for the occasion, this and that. And there was like a homeless man. He was kind of like wandering a little bit off to the distance, and like me, I was like, I felt kind of bad, and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna take him a plate, you know, give him something so he's not just like outside, he's not excluded from the situation. And I also believe that even though they are considered maybe less fortunate and this and that, I believe it's up to us to also keep them within our community and not just exclude them from all situations. And especially them who do not have the opportunity to go to a restaurant like we do and take it for granted. So we can go straight up to the cafeteria and buy pretty much what we want when they do not. So in conclusion, I'd like to talk about how we all as a whole can contribute back to our community, those who are less fortunate or those who are in need. And thank you.
Well, the attention device was fine. The transition of the topic was okay. Your point of view could be a little bit sharper. There's not really any preview where you're going, so it's going to wander around a little bit. I thought you had a couple of good examples that you talked about, and you tried to make them interesting. You provided a little bit of detail. If you had a clearer plan, I think you'd have been able to develop the speech a little more. Delivery issues, your voice projects pretty well. I think that there's a reasonable variety in your tone and it's paced about right. Visual issues, I think, are a little bit more problematic. You basically have your hands in your pockets 90% of the time. When you think to have an indicator, there are a couple of indicators, but usually you're not thinking about that. Your body movement, at first you had a little slightly nervous feet, and then after that it doesn't really seem like you are much engaged in the presentation. Your eye contact with the audience is okay. Your facial expressions look animated. It's a relatively brief presentation. Like I said, the anxiety issues seem to be maybe in your facial expression, some nervous smiling, and in the lack of gestures, especially early on in the speech. It felt like the conclusion of the speech was a little bit rushed as well. All right, thank you.